Thank you to the new listeners we see out there. We appreciate it. And I am Sherry Naudine. I am the owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate, and our team is going to hopefully be joining us here tonight. They all do lessons. So we had our staff meeting this morning, and they were excited to join in. So I'll be looking for their names. But we welcome you tonight. It will be action packed, but we also want it to be very interactive. So I want you to notice at the very bottom, there's a little heart with a plus sign. You can do like Jackie just did and clap for us or give us some emojis. There's also on the bottom left a place where you could put uh, click to speak, and we will bring you up to ask questions and interact as much as you want to. We sent this out to a very large audience. We're also recording it, so don't be shy. And as Jackie just posted, if you want to send us messages out on Twitter or on our private DMs, I'm going to introduce I can't talk today, Dr. Jackie Wins. I'm my co-host, so have that.
Oh man, it's a Monday. But yes, thank you so much. I am Jackie Wins. I did receive my doctorate, so she always gives me that little bit of pro there. But I'm a former two sport D2 athlete and was in both soccer and lacrosse. I didn't play softball, but I'm involved in collegiate softball here on the fandom of Twitter. Clearly, as you can see, OU based, but highly involved also in recruiting, whether it be for soccer and other sports. So have a good base there and just overall invested in women's sports and the development on that side. So I'm here to help.
Awesome. And I see one of our CSA advocates just logged in to contribute. Her name's Dion, and she'll be clicking on the bottom left. Dion, I sent you a request to be a speaker, and I'll keep my eye out for the rest of them. They're going to be joining us. And again, they mentioned that they do lessons until 8 o'clock, so they'll kind of dip in. But our topic tonight, thanks to one of our dear friends, and go ahead and hit mute, Dion, or go ahead and stay on and introduce yourself. How about that?
Sorry. Can you hear me, Sherry?
Yes, you're live.
Hi, I'm Dion Hill, and I had played at two levels of collegiate sports. I'm a junior college graduate, and then I also played Division II at Angelo State University. Happy to be here. I have been working in the field of softball and just the movement of the body since, gosh, I can remember. I think my last day that I hung my cleats up, I went straight to work probably about the week after and continued working with young athletes. And now I am so blessed to be a part of Collegiate Sports Advocate, and I'm happy to be on tonight.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. So our topic tonight is literally everything softball. So we do want to hear from the audience. We want to know what you want to know. I've got a pretty good lineup set up thanks to our friend Rachel Jones. We're going to talk about who, what, where, when, why, and how, which is what I'm famous for. If you've heard any of our podcasts, I talk about basic marketing 101 over and over again. So I'm going to give you as much of the free advice. Several of you are clients of ours, so you know it, and I will specialize it towards some of your questions if you reach out and ask questions. One of the things that I'm going to lay the foundation for and have you understand how difficult the recruiting process really is that you've got over 400,000 registered high school softball players. And the challenge with that is I'm not sure everybody understands that there's layers amongst layers amongst layers in which you can play. So everybody kind of goes out, and I call it the soda machine because, as most of you know, my husband works for Coca-Cola, and you walk up to the machine and you push the buttons and you say, I'd like a Diet Coke, or I'd like a Coke Zero, and you push the button, it comes out. A lot of people simplify recruiting that way. The messages you get from the sanctioning bodies are actually flipped in reality because they're going to tell you make a list of colleges, make a list of degrees that you want to study. And most of you that are on here that might be adults are probably laughing that none of us at 15 or 16 had any clue what we wanted to study. So picking a college and picking where you're going to play athletically at 15 or 16 seems just preposterous, right? And without a lot of knowledge, especially if you're starting with a degree. So In our model, we wait and we allow softball to pick you first. We allow your sport to pick you first and understand where you can play. Then we dive in, because one of the secrets that we'll give you here is just about every school out there has a path to what it is you want to do at some point, and there's ways to get there, and that is easier than the actual process of recruiting. So I'm going to go back to the numbers. 400,000 plus high school registered softball players. You have 8,000 that play. I mean, just right there, do the simple math. I see a lot of I would call professionals or people that went through the process many, many years ago on TikTok, and they'll go, there's a place for everyone. I really breathe in and breathe out on that one, because there isn't really a place for everyone with those numbers. There is a place if you determine that you want to play and make the intention to start playing, for everyone, once you discover what that layer is. And that's going to be the key to your success, discovering what layer you are. And that is what I call the $1,000,000 question. And so, Dion, at any time, if you want to add, and Jackie too, there's the emojis down at the bottom. You can raise your hand, and please feel free to insert, because I've got a checklist here tonight, and they know I'm a chatter. So with that 400,000 registered softball players, 8,000 playing, and then you've got the magic number, 51,000 registered 51,000 registered travel ball teams playing amongst 5 sanctioning bodies. How the heck do you figure out? I had a great conversation with a mom today about being in 12 and under and understanding how to get in the right lane, even at 12 and under, understanding how you got to play, when you got to play, against who you got to play, to sharpen that sword, to get in the right spot in order to become on the path to the success that you want or deserve. And that's where people make a lot of mistakes. I don't believe they start early enough trying to understand how to navigate the process. So with those numbers, the sanctioning bodies also start to come into play, because then it becomes what a lot of people call the money grab. The camps. Every single college coach wants to host a camp, and I don't blame them. And in the end, that you should be going to the camps where you've already been evaluated as a good fit, so that they can have a deeper look and they can have a deeper dive on you. Then it's the number of coaches that can come out to where those 51,000 travel ball. I wish I could write a graph, like do an actual visual board for you here. When there's 51,000 registered travel ball teams, and you've got tournaments all across the country, how the heck are those college coaches going to get to all of them? And I had a big discussion with a travel ball owner of a very large organization about, one's going to go to California, one's going to go somewhere in Texas, one's going to go somewhere in the Southeast or somewhere in the Northeast. They start to kind of twist and turn, but they all three, and I'm talking Division I on this one, because Division II and Division III don't necessarily have that many coaches on staff. So that's why you'll see them recruit more regionally. So then that big wheel, I call it the roulette table. Then that roulette table goes in, and you throw in your little marble, and around it goes, and where it stops, man, you're kind of there. And then how do you navigate it? How do you get out of it? And then social media on top of it. And if you've heard our conversations here on Twitter Live, or you've listened to our podcast, on the bottom of our Collegiate Sports Advocate page, you'll see all of our links to our social media. You'll also go to our media tab, and you can see every recorded Twitter Live that we've had, every recording of a podcast that we've had that's going to go into more details about each of these topics. But what we struggle with, and I'm going to throw this out here and then kind of open the mic. So if you want to ask questions, or you want us to get specific about something we're covering here tonight, please feel free to go to the bottom there and raise your hand. But here's the clog in the wheel. We still have fifth-year student athletes in the process. We have a lot more JUCO transfers. I've got one here on the line listening tonight, already committed to her next destination. That's what happens now. Our class of 22 went 20% JUCO, and we are considered a high-end, high-layer recruiting service. With about, I think it was 62% went D1 in that same year. When that happens, those people are coming back into the process on top of the younger generation. So we don't see this clog getting any thinner anytime soon. And then they went through the transfer portal on top of it. And again, every single one of these topics we're talking about, we could go into an entire Twitter live night about them. So you've got fifth year still in it. You've got transfers coming in from JUCO. You've got transfer portal issues. And what I mean by the transfer portal issues is you don't know who's staying. A lot of what we talk to college coaches about each day is who are you predicting that's going to leave? We don't know. We don't know till May. We don't know till April. Or, hey, I've got a senior that hasn't decided to stay her fifth year. So a lot of the money and a lot of the spend doesn't become available until the season is over. And so then it's a big, huge, I call it a popcorn bag. It just shakes in May. All of a sudden, everybody's rosters are topsy-turvy. And if any of you follow football, it's literally a year-to-year recruiting process because so many jump into the portal and they just shuffle. And that makes it really, really difficult for you, the prospective student athlete, trying to figure out where you're going to go, where you're going to land. So again, feel free to raise your hand here, come off, request to be a speaker. Deanna, I'd like to swing it to you right now because I've thrown a lot out there. What do you got?
Yeah, actually, it's good that you spoke on the age difference. I really feel as though, back in my day, I was writing letters and sending videotapes, so I really aged myself at this point. But understanding understanding what has to be done and when do we start. So 12U definitely we're talking about, where we need to be, who we're competing against, finding the highest level of competition that you can compete against, and then going to work. And I really feel like it's making the adjustments, finding the right program, finding an understanding about who the athlete is as an individual. And I think that comes into play a lot when you're looking for a university or a junior college. I am a product of a junior college transfer into a university, and so I truly believe that there is a place for everyone. Um, but my journey, I had to make sacrifice in order for me to be able to get to where I was. And understanding, again, back to the athlete, we all have this dream. And like you mentioned, the Coca Cola, we have a dream of going somewhere, but understanding that where you're going, it fits you, it fits your personality. You look at the program and you look at the coaches and you look at the girls, but also where do you want to be? I think at 15 and 16 years old, you know exactly what type of people you want to be around and the atmosphere that you want to surround yourself. And I think that is also very important. When you're 12, it's not so much important of where you want to go, it's how you're conducting yourself as an athlete. And I think that a lot of times between the ages of 12 and 16, we lose the fact that you are an athlete that is aspiring to be a collegiate athlete, a student athlete, student first. I tell my athletes all the time, and they complain sometimes, hey, I have homework. I have homework. Oh, well, that is the life of an athlete. You are a student first and you are an athlete. Go get your work done always in the classroom. But sometimes, the day doesn't always have enough hours in it. So sometimes you're going to have to go to weights and then you're going to have to go to your batting coach and then you're going to have to do your conditioning coach all in one day. And then you're going to have about maybe 3 hours of homework. Well, the good thing about it is when you're with us, when you're a CSA athlete, we talk about the time management and we talk about the hours in the day and the hours in the week and the hours in the month, and we help you put that together. And when you start as young as I say, 12U, or if we're referencing the age at this point, the graduation year is 2028 or 27. That is an eighth grader, seventh and eighth grade. We get them in as athletes and we groom them to be the best student athlete that they can be and help them with their time management and help them with behavior and mannerisms. It takes about a year. I would say minimum 3 months if you're constantly working on a one behavior mannerism to change something. So, for example, if I'm a pitcher, which I'm not, or I never have been, but I always looked up to the pitchers. But if I'm on the mound and I don't get a call that I want and I shrug my shoulders forward, that is one mannerism. Okay, well, if I shrug my shoulders forward and I throw my head back, that's a second mannerism. So it's going to take me 3 months to get out of that in active play to really work on my behavior. So if you're in 12U right now and you're doing that, not to pick up the pitchers or the catchers if they're not getting the call that they want, okay? These are very, very important positions on the field. They hold a very key position in behavior and chemistry on the field. But if you're working in that capacity and you're recognizing this, now we have some time to work on it before we're actually evaluated. And I think to speak on, from 12 years of age, 13 years of age, or 12U into, 16 and under, you're constantly changing that. I have heard college coaches say, I cannot work with a behavior change as young as 16 and 15 years of age. And that is big because they don't have time to work on behavior changes. That is something that happens in-house, that happens in your home, that happens with your instructors, with your strength and conditioning coach, that happens within yourself as a student athlete. And so those are big things that I think that we should work on moving forward. If you are in those age ranges or graduation years, behavior mannerisms are key. When we go somewhere on a field, it's never a walk. It's always a jog or a sprint. You go with a sense of urgency, almost like you're on fire. And I feel like those are game changers that when college coaches come out or when they're watching your video, and they do watch, trust me, believe me, they watch game footage. They're like, who's that kid that just ran out there? I couldn't even recognize her. I couldn't see her number because she sprinted to her position. Oh, well, let me tell you about that kid. So those are things that I think we need to take away. Sometimes we lose it. Sometimes I'm watching college games and, not to pick on the college athlete. I was there once before and, we tend to lose sight of that sense of urgency. Save that sense of urgency because guess what? Softball game, one day you're going to have to hang those cleats up and you won't have that position to sprint out to. So hang on to the ability to do just that and to play the game and love it. Play it hard always.
Great, great insights, Deanne. And again, I'm the number layer. I'm the one that likes the roadmap to success because I think without your destination in mind, which is graduating college, we are not the people that just want to throw you a camp and tell you that we helped you get recruited, or just put you in a portal or give you a piece of software that shows you how to write emails. We are literally the hands-on type of people, and it's because there is a roadmap for each individual and it has to be routed differently. And I can give you a ton of examples, but I want to hear from Jackie.
This is interesting, and definitely something I wanted to sort of say something about. There's this decision internally, this internal fire that you have to have through this process because it's not easy, right? If it was easy, we'd all be playing. What I think you need to do as an athlete is determine, do you just want to have a sticker on the back of your car? Like, do you want to say you're getting recruited by these people, XYZ, you're going through the process, or do you actually want to be recruited, right? Do you actually want to put in the work? Do you want to, have it be a part-time job, right, in college and that be, or some people say full-time, right? Like it is going to be a part of what you do, right? And if you're not ready to take on the mental, right, tasks of that, it can be really hard. And so what I say is really sit down with yourself and say, all right, I'm listening to this podcast right now because I'm taking that step. I'm doing what maybe thousands of other kids are not doing because you know what? I want to do this. This is going to be something that I'm going to undertake. And I'm going to battle through those ups and downs, whether it be some coaches say yes, some coaches say no, things like that. You're going to have to push yourself and be resilient. And unfortunately, what I do see is, back in the day, Deanna, it's so funny. We were writing letters. We were writing, putting our tape together and it was blurry, right? And so now you guys have to figure out how to stay resilient through this process. Even with the help, you're going to need to be the one that does the work. And the coaches can tell when it's somebody else or if it's you who's really pushing that engine. So definitely stay motivated.
I'm going to actually make some funnies about what you just said because there are some funny things in there that are just terrific that we know as being in the business. We know when mom and dad are writing your emails. We know when you're sending them during school time that it's most likely that mom and dad are shooting them out. We can tell by the way you construct them. We are very much template driven. We give an outline. It's not word for word the exact thing, but when you send them, there is a timing that's effective. There's also a time sensitive part of the recruiting process. But we also know when your parents are hosting your Twitter account. I think that's really funny, Jackie, because I can see it. It's just we speak different as adults, and our motivations are different, and we speak about our children differently than they speak about themselves. And you can actually see when a kid is hosting their own Twitter. And the same thing, if they're, tweeting all day long, I'm thinking, what the heck? Are they not in school today? And I know schools aren't as traditional as they used to be, so sometimes we can't go on that. But those of us inside of the business of recruiting, we know whose motivation it is. And I'm going to give a secret sauce here to the parents. When it is the student athlete that's leading the energy, like Jackie said, being that fire in your belly, and we call it hashtag be relentless. When it's your relentlessness and you're driving that bus, it happens. It's the magic of the connection, finding that fit. It's that thing that just falls down. You could all be emailing the right colleges, and one of our kids just did this, and she was in the process and getting a little frustrated about, who's going to be that one for her. And one of the coaches actually emailed back and said, I'm from the same town you live from. And we're talking from Northern California to Georgia. It was just one of those aha moments where the connection was made. And you just can't write the recipe for that. And that's why you'll hear people say, trust the process. We're going to show you how to work the process because we're workers. And that's what the college coaches like about our program. So I'm going to keep going here unless Dion and Jackie want to dive in. A couple things we get hit on a lot is, oh, who's doing your recruiting? Oh, we're going to do it ourselves. I'm going to warn you that there's no do-overs and that it's time sensitive. You have to have a trusted person. And I see one of my favorite travel ball coaches on here right now, and I love her. I've actually worked a couple kids, and I've got a new kid on her team that she may not recognize we're connected again for. But Susie, we love you and we welcome you. There are very few travel ball coaches that 100% can take you through the process and get you the right place. But I'm going to tell you, as being married to one, it also is a certain amount of time you can dedicate to it. When you are a coach and you have more than one team, it becomes more and more difficult to service each one of them individually and specifically to where they can play. And that's some key language there. So there are seasons in recruiting. And again, I want to give you as much free information as I can. So audience, don't hesitate. If you want to throw a message up on our DMs here or you want to throw it out on Twitter, we're happy to answer specifically. But in softball, there are seasons of recruiting. Right now, they can come out. We had one show up to a North Texas, high school game the other day. They're not really doing deep diving recruiting at this point. He happens to be a local coach and has connections there, and it's convenient to stop by. But it is very rare that they come to your high school games, and it's just because they're playing their seasons. I mean, Arkansas and Alabama are playing right now. They're not going to be coming to North Texas or to Texas Tech might show up there, Dion, but it's highly unlikely. And if so, it's usually for a specific person they're already in on. They're already well aware of. They're not going out, doing their initial touches. But the seasons of recruiting are limited. So what Dion and I were talking about earlier is getting you in the right path and getting you on the right journey and understanding there's steps along the way to take before you even get to the evaluation part. And there's 12 days in fall. There are seasons of recruiting in the summer. You only have from the time the World Series ends for Division One until the end of July. So there's very limited seasons, and you need to be very packaged up and ready to go because it's true. College coaches are already checking our events page. We can see it, and they're already calling us and asking us where we're going. I had one coach today say, where are our student athletes going this summer? It's March, listeners. They're already wanting to know where to find you this summer. So, Deanna, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I think I got a couple of phone calls and text messages. What's the lineup for summer? And can you send me video? And that is probably one of the biggest things is, understanding how important, and we have a weekly checklist that we go over with our athletes, and we're constantly procuring that list with them and understanding, making sure, social media is on point, that we're doing things correctly, but also too, that they are in the right place, we can advise and advocate for, their team and allowing them to understand like, hey, we need to be at this place at this time. Also, we're not going to have you go somewhere where it's just not going to be the right fit for you. Or also, too, we're not going to just spin our wheels. I think the money game really has to be considered at this point. Yes, it's an investment. Yes, if you think about it, this investment spans over how many years, depending on when you start with us. But also, this investment is something that helps you for your long term goal. And it's a 40-year investment. So, what I mean by that is not only are you going to college and we are helping you make that decision and advocating for you and understanding, what to look for and how to get there and also talking with coaches, but then you have to think about the investment that you're going to be spending while you're there. Some have to take out student loans. Some parents have to, help with their child. You know, um, some are blessed enough to get, additional income resources, academically, or their schools all have NILs. But at the end of the day, they're probably not going to pay for their shampoo or conditioner, and some might, but your parents generally have to pick up that. And, sometimes you're not going to want to eat in that cafeteria, or you may not want to live in the dorms forever. I know that my sister and I, we ended up living in a house. We were blessed enough to play at the same university, but we had a house together. And that ended up being an investment that my parents had made, a very strategic financial investment that they did because my sister was younger than me. She played 2 years after me. And so, my parents understood it was a 6 year. But then after that, if we had student loans or if we had a further continuation of college, it's 4 years after that before some would pay back those loans. So, think about the investment and where you're putting your money. If you're just spinning your wheels and not understanding where you're going or why you're going, or you don't have a plan, it more than anything, get with us so that way we can help you understand that. Um, I always say like, hey, you got to have skin in the game, and yes, there's money involved, but if we invest in something, you're going to want to return, and hopefully you're working for that return with us working with you.
Love it. That's great insight. Again, I want to give you my foundation that I started with at the beginning. When you're out there and you're emailing or you're sending or creating your videos or you're creating your own path without any assistance from either, elite travel clubs or somebody like us who's really holding your hand through the process one on one. I want you to think of this foundation. Who are you sending it to? What are you sending? Where are you sending? When are you sending it? Why are you sending it? And how again? I want to add another thing here, Dion. I see your hand there. I saw a tweet and I retweeted it from a college coach who said, "Stop DMing me. He cannot answer the DMs. He's a Division I college." I've seen people hand out their player profile at an event to a coach, and the coach says, "What's your major?" And the girl said, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And the coach said, "There's nothing in my school that's going to get you to be a lawyer." So there's a lot of questions you ask. You can't just go out there, shooting that. Go ahead, Nia.
Yes, Sherry, back to the footage. So athletes, yes, you're going through your checklist and you're understanding when, where, what, why, and how. Parents, I will tell you, you can disqualify your child probably almost as quick as your child disqualifies themselves through their social media. Um, I can tell you right now there had been some decisions on athletes where, you know, I love the kid, I don't want to deal with the parent. And it's like, oh, okay, absolutely. And parents, we are a package deal, whether we like it or not. You can say all day long you're not going to go to school with your kid, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to show up some way, shape, or form or fashion. The apple usually doesn't fall too far from the tree, and you can disqualify your child. Excessive posting or bad posting, also too. Some videos, some content is not always the best content. And so you really have to be careful with what you put on your social media. You're under review just as much as your student athlete is.
Excellent there. I couldn't get my mute button to come off. It was sticky. On the social media, something we say a lot is you can't take it back. Once it's out there, it's been said, it is imprinted in people's minds. And what people don't recognize it at the end of it, the college coaches are looking to lighten their list. They're not looking to have the 475,000 registered high school student athletes on their list. They're looking to eliminate you. Don't give them something to eliminate. I see you, Jackie.
And this is such an interesting topic because I think we underestimate the importance of parental behavior, I like to call it, because even on visits, they're watching you too, right? They're watching the whole dynamic because coaches know that this is going to be a commitment, not just to the athlete, but to the family too, right? They're taking care of your daughter or son if it's baseball side, and they know that this is a whole package coming in. I'll give you an example. When I was playing soccer, somebody's parent had messaged the coach and they printed the, I'm not saying this is correct, but they printed the email like about 50 times and taped it all over the locker room. Like they do not like to deal with people that they don't want to deal with. And that was a statement. Hey, don't have your parents email us. We're dealing with you, right? But that is to the point of which they didn't enjoy working with specific parents. And so, times have changed, but they're still watching, and maybe they can't say it outright, but they can disqualify you or potentially move forward in the process without you based on your actions.
Terrific. And when you go back to the numbers of the 400,000 plus and only 8,000 are getting picked, they're looking for reasons to eliminate you or discount you. And I've said it a long time. I'm not a D1 or bust person. I'm a fit person. What's going to be the right fit? But they are looking for the same thing. My daughter's a D3 coach at a faith-based environment. They're looking for that cultural fit too. They want to make sure that you have the same motivational fit, that you're going to create the same kind of experience that you're going to get when you get there and that you're going to participate in. So there's a lot of that going on too. Like I used to be a headhunter, which is a formal term in corporate America for actually going out and seeking out the right candidates for the job. And I really view this kind of recruiting that we do as that type of fit. We're taking the student athlete and we're looking for that fit to the universities. And that's where this years of us being in the business is when it comes down to it, because I'll see or watch a kid that we have and I'll say, wow, they'll be a great fit for that coach, right? So again, some of the intangibles that you don't see on the front side with recruiting and with services really happens when you are engaged with somebody, whatever your chosen path is. Again, we are a service. There's no doubt we're telling you what we do, but you can do it on your own. You can do it through your travel team. You can use a piece of software. There's many, many ways to spin the recruiting model. And there's plenty of stories with outcome of great success. All you got to do is go look at the travel coaches' resumes. So another one, back to the conversation I had with the 12 and under family today. Eighth graders, or seventh graders going into eighth grade, or eighth graders going into ninth grade. Before you switch organizations, do as much research into knowing who they are, knowing what their past is. There's a lot of teams that put a new name on their shirt. There's a lot of teams that just, are formed within a brand. Understand what their pedigree is, understand where they came from. Are they the right coaching staff for you? Do they have the right success? Do they have the right reputation? When you look at their commitment list, I'll tell you, I know of one that the kids got committed on an organization that we were dealing with, and their old organization they hadn't played for in 2 years posted them as committed on their platform. And there's literally no rules written about that, but that isn't truthful information. You should really, really dig deep before you get into an organization, before you choose a travel coach, before you choose a recruiting partner. You really need to understand the results. Don't just buy the fluff and the flair. I always say if it's too good to be true, do a little digging. Ask Google the opposite question. Ask the haters. Ask the people that left. Ask the negative question. We do the same when we prep you for a visit. We prep you for an offer. We're teaching you to ask the right questions. We're going to help you uncover the things you need to know outside of the things that anybody's selling you. Go ahead, Deanne.
Yeah, Sherry, I will tell you, I'm going to speak on that just a little bit. I know my introduction was really short, but I met Sherry in 2017. And it took me a while. Obviously, we're in 2023 now. But I joined her in 22 because I took my time in digging. I took my time and watching her results. And to be honest with you, the numbers, thank God, the numbers did not cease. They continue to grow. So glory to him on that. Also, too, I worked with Sherry. Our paths crossed for a reason because I had one of her athletes as as a player, and I was the coach, and I was the exhausted 18U coach that was trying to get it done, and I literally was spinning my wheels. So for the coaches on the call, I really was trying to do everything on top of get these kids ready to compete at a higher level than what we were competing against. And it is absolutely tiring. We would drive home hours on end and I'm thinking about the game, but then I'm also thinking about, okay, well, did I get this one? Did I do this one? Did I reach out? Did I leave the field for this one? I actually physically had to leave the field because I was in charge. The responsibility of recruiting was literally on my shoulders. And Sherry's athlete had everything done before we even stepped foot in the lobby Friday night. Her emails were already done. Her profile was complete. Her testing and her retesting dates were already there. She knew exactly who she was looking for. She knew what level they were at and who they were by name and by face. She was actually prepping me and telling me which college coaches were who. And I thought I had my work done because I had played in the area and I was so familiar. And now I have teammates that are actually, you know, every layer possible coaching. And I thought, oh my gosh, I had it together. I thought I had it together, but the CSA kid is over here telling me what I'm supposed to know as a coach. And here I am writing my lineup and she goes, hey, so and so's over there by the gate. You think you need to go talk to them? Yeah, okay. And so as coaches, we have to really think about, do you want the athlete that's ready to play? Or do you want the athlete that is, reactive to, oh my gosh, I see that coach out there. Did I send them an email? Okay, let me go back and send them an email. Rushing in between games to try to send an email, to try to get a phone number or to try to get a business card or even a scan or even, to even see, if they're looking for somebody, my CSA kid was already done, I think by Tuesday, Sherry, if I'm not correct. I mean, Sherry would call me and she would be like, all right, hey, what's going on? What do we got? And I could communicate so seamlessly with her and with the athlete. It was unreal. Now, if the 13 other of my athletes would have done the same, I would have been ready to compete and my output would have been so great. And I was successful, but I wasn't successful enough. And if I had CSA and if I would have seen her sooner, I would have just been able to get that many more athletes signed, I believe.
Well, I didn't ask you to be that kind, Dion, but I greatly appreciate it. And I know our story and it's very heartfelt. So thank you. So I'm going to give you guys some foundation here. Many of you are CSA clients. I appreciate that. And many of you are familiar with this. But I'm going to tell you, number one, you got to have the talent. You need to be working on your talent. During high school, 100%, you have to have the talent necessary to play at the level that you're striving for. Otherwise, you need to be setting goals. We do a program called SMART Goals. We help you set the goals necessary to get there. Then you need to find a very reputable, very high level competing team. You don't necessarily need to be the best person or the least athletic on the team. You need to be in an environment where they can push you and grow you and develop you. You then need to know where they're traveling. If you're trying to play with, XYZ team and they're on the other side of the country and all of the events you're going to will never touch that region or those coaches won't touch you, it's probably a bad connection. Unless you've got a lot of time to go through many, many seasons where I have one that was from Michigan that's going down into the Florida region, and they finally, convinced their team to do some showcases down in that area. So she had a chance and it worked. And they were very stuck on their plan, but they were with us for over 2 years to do that because of those 12 days in fall and the 6 to 8 weeks in summer. It just doesn't give you the time to put that much exposure on yourself. So talent, team, where you go, then how do you package yourself? You've got to have some place for them to land. We call it a landing page. You got to have a place where they can land and they can see content and relevant content to their layer. If you're putting up, and this came from an SEC coach, if you're putting up content that is not their layer and you're emailing them or you're tweeting them or tagging them, you're going to come right off their list. Give them a chance to get to know you. Invite them to see you play. Most of you play a game better than you do on video or, pitch in a clinic or hit off a tee. The exercise videos. I've never met a coach that wants to see you work out. They want to know you're doing that. They want to see you getting better, but setting those SMART goals and setting, expectations to being bigger, faster, and stronger are going to get you there. You got to do timely emails. You can't be emailing them when they're playing. It makes no sense. You can preset your emails to go at certain times. We teach you how to do that. There's also social media times of day and times of the week that are good to send messages out. But again, use the who, what, where, when, why. Did they ask you to send it? What are you sending? Is that what they like? And gosh, some of the travel ball coaches on here, they all like something different. It's really, really hard to figure out who likes what. That's some of the magic, and having that relationship and having the success. What you do when you're in college also is a reflection back on us. If you get cut for bad grades or you get cut like Dion was talking about for, a poor behavior or attitude, or hello parents, there's some parents that still go to athletic directors and still go to coaches and still do some of those things that have just never been part of the process. That's still happening there. And then branding yourself. We're going to be talking to an NIL company this week about how to properly brand yourself. I come from corporate America, 28 years in sales and marketing. It is all about your image. This name, image, and likeness is really, really big, but it's also an important life message for you. Building your brand. And when you meet Jackie, you know who she is because she's built a brand around herself. When you meet me or Dion, you're going to know who we are because you'll see our brand all about us. Our logos speak of us. Our message speaks of us. Our credibility, our success, our numbers. I am a numbers person. They don't lie. They tell a story, and there's lots of story in there to be told. But then it becomes target marketing. And excuse me. If you don't understand what target marketing is, go back to the who, what, where, when, why, and how. You've got to be able to target market yourself without rosy glasses on. I did it to my children. I thought my children should have been on Team USA. Okay, go ahead. It's okay. I was a mom once too. But it is true. We see and we desire something sometimes different, and it's sometimes outside of our kids' capabilities. One of the worst things I've seen over 9 years is parents in the marketplace that have promoted and hyped and maneuvered and manipulated their kids into places that their kids could never live up to, and talk about a disappointment. And then the parent will look for blaming the high school coach, blaming the travel ball coach, because they just don't see that kid's not a shortstop. That my kid is a shortstop. I don't know why they're not playing him at shortstop. And it just never ends. And I think the sooner you can resign yourself to having somebody that's a professional help you and guide you through the process of getting in the right lane. I think the less portal transfers we'll have, the less quitting. If you guys don't understand how much quitting happens in college, I'll give you some numbers. In fact, I'll give it to you right now. It's 1 in 5 actually finish at the college institution that they started at, playing 4 straight years, and graduate at the same institution. 1 in 5. And that's unfortunately across all sports. It's probably worse after COVID. I think it's a little more sticky in softball, at least the people we deal with, they're pretty sticky, but there's a lot of quitting that goes on. A lot. The first freshman season is just culture shock, absolute shock. If you didn't do a good job of assessing where you're going to go and why you're going and what the fit is, it's going to be a shocker. Then some people hit the bench. You can go see my bench TikToks. I do a lot about those ones. Got to learn to play the game and be part of the game, and that's sometimes the first shock to some of the top end talent. And then once you move on, a lot of people leave for their career because at some point the female athlete realizes that there's no Major League Baseball or no NFL. They start to see, oh, I'm going to need to go to med school. I'm going to need to go to PT school or nursing school. In Division III, you lose a lot at the top end because they start to go through clinic, and they just don't have the time on the field and can't miss the classes. And I'll insert there, a lot of the D1s don't like those majors because they need you when they need you to be on the field, and you're an invaluable part of their process. And I know some will say, hey, we'll work with you. It is really, really hard because you can't miss either side of it, either the classroom or the field. So again, I've got lots to share. I love questions. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, on our private messages, if we've touched a little bit on something you want us to dig more in, if there's a topic you want us to cover real quick, we can share with you whatever you need. And, happy to, answer your questions. Because again, we didn't want this to be a sales pitch. We want this to be everything softball recruiting that you need to know, but a little bit of why we've been successful. While I'm waiting for your questions or your hands to go up, Dion, I sent you back a message. It looked like she dropped off, but I sent her a request to speak again. And Susie, if you've got anything, we value you and love you out there as one of our favorite travel ball coaches. You're welcome to speak. The final thoughts here: make sure you friended us, that you're involved with us. But our numbers currently today, we have 942 student athletes. We have 479 committed. We are a committing machine because we do this for 2 or 3 years before they get into that process. It is our goal to make the fit. It is about the fit. It is about the 40 years, which is what Dion mentioned. And it's about you being a great student athlete and having a great experience. The journey, as Jackie said, is not so easy. So we really try to make a more personal fit for you. And that's very unique in our space. You'll see a lot of people that have, a recruiting twist on things. And again, there's many software pieces and many big companies that will cold call you and tell you what you want to hear. Parents, beware. If they're telling you what you want to hear and you can't validate it, man, I'd be scared. We're known for being honest and truthful, and we love that. Jackie, any thoughts here? Anything that we're missing?
I just think you have to keep yourself open and honest, and understand that you're going to be getting a ton of feedback throughout this. So be in a place of staying resilient, but also giving yourself credit that you're putting yourself forward in this, because it isn't something that everybody wants to do. But start to get organized, start to have your foundation set so that as your big years start to come for you, that you have everything else already, your grades, how you go about your day, your play, everything there set and mastered. And so that this way you can go ahead and get the process going nice and smooth.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts there, Dion?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with everything that you just said, Sherry. I'm sorry I got disconnected, and I wish I would have stayed on because I was pre-nursing. So I probably had a lot to say about that.
But I ended up finishing with a degree. I did not end up going into the nursing school, but I have 2 degrees that I'm very blessed with and very versatile. So probably could go back into the medical field, but definitely was a decision between weights or clinicals. So and I had to be at the weights. I had to be at the weight room or in the pool in the fall. So 100% definitely self-analyze yourself as a student athlete. As Jackie said earlier, as Sherry had mentioned multiple times, you know, you're going to have to do digging. You're going to have to do your due diligence to find the right fit for you, to find the service for you, you know, the best business, reputable business that shows numbers. We're in a game that numbers are almost everything at this point. And if you can show me the numbers, I can definitely talk. And, you know, I believe we are hitting a line at this point. So, we want to hit 500 here coming soon.
Thank you, Dion. And again, before you hang up, friend, your speakers here would love to hear from you. I'd also love a private message on what we can do different or better. We're definitely feedback people. I need topics. I love to cover the topics. Tell me what you want to know. Tell me what you want to hear. We will give it to you. If you haven't seen my TikTok, I hit some topics that are controversial. I love to bring it on. I'm happy to talk and have an open discussion. I like the interaction. I like to learn from you. I like to understand what you're experiencing. We like college coaches. We did college coaches last year, April through May. It's a lot of work. I can bring them on if you want to hear from them, but I want to know what you want to hear from them. So if you want to shoot me a message or two and tell me who you want to hear from, I will do my best to bring them on. And because it does take a lot of pre-planning, because I've got to work around their schedules and get them on. But we had them from April until, gosh, end of May. And then we took a break during summer because it's just so busy, and we're all on the roads at the events. And then we come back again in fall. So we're here to serve you guys, our faithful listeners, and I appreciate you guys each week. And any last questions? We're all good to go. Jackie, would you like to say any parting words?
Just stay confident, stay in it. You all are doing something extra that a lot of people are already not doing by being here. So you know, this is your chance to stay motivated and use that momentum. All of the words that we've said today, take it and apply it. Right now, don't just sit with it. Actually, get going. So this is your wake up call if you need it.
Fabulous. And this is a recorded space. So when we hang up, you can share it with your friends and maybe tag some of your friends instead of tagging coaches. Let's tag some friends and let's get some of your teammates. A lot of you play with high school players that are on different travel teams. Share what it is we're doing and why we have our success. And again, love to hear from you on your topic. So have a great week. Hashtag be relentless is our theme for the year. Let's be relentless at doing what we want to do. Have a great day. Or great night, I should say.